Welcome to worship this morning. I have a few announcements before us. Let me see. Okay, first off, there are, I didn't put coloring pages on the tables today, but there are coloring pages out front, and then there are the crayons. I brought the crayons in here if you need them, so they are right here. Looking through the bulletin, I wanted to draw, I just wanted to help make some points of clarification, and I did type these up underneath the welcome and announcements. When you see a number that's preceded by a letter and a dash, that's a reference to the Book of Order, to our Constitution. And so I put that there so you can look that up later if you are interested. And then any page numbers that are not our regular hymn page, well, we don't have any of those, but any page numbers are from the annual report, which hopefully you picked up your copy, and I put the leftovers that we had. Each table has at least one, so you can share those. And, okay, so those are the announcements about the bulletin. Other announcements for you. We typically have the anointing prayer on this Sunday, but because we're doing this worship service, the anointing prayer will be next Sunday. There's coffee and tea over here in the kitchen that's available, and there's water underneath the exit sign if you'd like it. We'll be having lunch after worship, but the coffee and tea and water are all ready if you'd like them now. Those are my announcements, or my first announcements. Are there any announcements from the rest of you? All right, so next announcement that I have for you is that we are working on updating the directory again. I know that it seems like to you that we are always updating the directory, but it's because every single time we do an update and then we send mail, we get 3 to 5 things back. And then Kim at the post office says, well, they changed their mailing address. And I'm like, but I just updated it. And so I'm sending around this clipboard that has not only our most current directory, that's the first series of pages with the bigger print, but then also the most recent update we did. And so I need you to look and see that your entry is correct. The other thing that we are trying to get, PW is working on getting a list of people who are having birthdays 90 and more, or when you will be having your 90th birthday or above 90. And so I need you to check to make sure that your birth date, your year is in here as well, so that we know, and your anniversary date year as well, so we can acknowledge your anniversaries. Because some people have that and some people don't. So I'm going to start it at a table, and I ask that everybody look at it. And if you don't find yourself on either one of those sheets, then just write yourself in the margin, because obviously somehow we didn't get your address in here. So I greatly appreciate everybody's enthusiastic help with that. And if you don't do it, then you will likely get a phone call from somebody in the near future asking you for this information. So if you want a phone call, then don't fill it out. The other things to note for today, this is a different service than we've done before. This is, as I've said, I've written in the newsletter, and I've shared with you also on other Sundays. The session has spent the last year trying to find a way to make the annual meeting a little bit more engaging, a lot more engaging, a little bit more interactive, because there is so much that we do as a congregation. We summarize it all, we put it in the annual report, we print the annual report, and we save it in the safe so that from here on out, anybody who wants to see what we did that year can look it up. But we often find out that most people don't read the annual report. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand if you did, because I'm trust that all of you did, because you knew how important it was and what a historical document this is, so you did take the time to read through every report. But knowing that it's not always enjoyable for people to sit through the annual meeting, the session has really spent the last year trying to find a new way. So this is it. We're going to try this format. Hopefully it will be it will be engaging for you, it will be informative for you, and that you will also ask questions. You'll see in the bulletin there are plenty of spaces for you to ask questions, and then we look forward to you telling us what you thought about this afterwards. So just make sure you find a member of the session and let them know what you thought, and we would appreciate that. So seeing that there were no other announcements, let us worship God. Let us join together in the call to worship as printed in the bulletin. The great ends of the church are
the proclamation of the gospel for the salvation of humankind,
the shelter, nurture, and spiritual fellowship of the children of God,
the maintenance of divine worship,
the preservation of the truth,
the promotion of social righteousness,
and the exhibition of the kingdom of heaven to the world. At this time, let us share our joys and concerns. I have before us one concern for Sally's mom, Ann. She has a doctor's appointment on Tuesday and will get back her test results. Are there other concerns before us? All right, I have these joys. On the 12th, Pat and Chuck Tursky will celebrate 35 years. Congratulations. Oh, I'm sorry. She did write 37. I read 35. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. You did earn those 2 years. I apologize. Maxine Goff is having a birthday today. Happy birthday, Maxine. Sherry Griffin is having a birthday today, and they are doing really well, enjoying the South, and I'm sure even happier if they knew what the weather was like today. Lorene has, her birthday is on Valentine's Day, which is on Thursday. Olin Kauser is going to be 95 next Saturday. So congratulations to him. Is that Laura here? Laura's not here. And then Tristan graduated from basic training on Friday. So those are all our good things. Nikki?
Haley's going to be 14 on the 14th.
Oh, 14 on the 14th. Happy birthday, Haley. Are there other joys before us? All right, seeing none, let us go to God in prayer, and we'll close with the Lord's Prayer as printed in the bulletin. Let us pray. We come before you this morning, Lord, offering our prayers, doing the best that we can to live these great ends of the church, to be the kind of people who proclaim your gospel, who care for your children, who worship you, who continue to teach your truth and work for peace. We ask, Lord, that you be with all those leaders around this world, that they too would seek to live by these guiding principles. We ask for the leaders of our countries, the leaders of our congregations, the leaders of our denominations, the leaders of all faith traditions, Lord. We ask that you continue to help us bring your peace in this world, to listen to each other and to grow in understanding and compassion. Help us to find ways to unite underneath your call to be your children. We offer to you our prayers for those we know who are hurting. Help them to find healing and peace. For those who are caring for family members and friends who are ill, we ask for strength and good spirits. Especially today, we ask for Anne, that her results will be clear and the path forward will also be clear. We give you thanks for all of the joys that you have given us, for the chance to gather together and be your people. For the 37 years that Pat and Chuck have been married and the ways that they have taught us what it means to love each other, to love you, to live a life that is based on a faith for you. For birthdays, and all the ways that Maxine and Sherry and Lorraine and Olin and Haley remind us every day what it is to be loved by you. We ask your blessing on their coming year, that they would be filled with your joy. And we give you thanks that Tristan has graduated and that he is working toward this dream of his. We ask for safe travel back here for the family. As we listen to what you have done this year through our hands and feet, help us to be awed by your power, to be inspired by the work you have done. We pray all of this praying as Jesus taught us, praying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. So, because this is an annual meeting, and because it's not a confirmation year, so I didn't get to talk to a group of kids about what an annual meeting means, you guys all get to hear some of what it is that I would say to them. And I thought it would be really important for you to hear that this is not just something we do just because we do it, in February, because why not? Every other church does an annual meeting, but this is something that's mandated by our denomination. So when we chose to be a part of the Peace USA, we chose to make this part of what we do, part of our annual work. And so I thought that it would be helpful for you if I would read some things from the Book of Order. I condensed it way down for you, and I did also print it so it would be easy for you to follow along. And so these things that I wanted to read to you are about our mandate to have an annual meeting. Some clarification about what an active member is, because we have a lot of very active members of our worshiping community, but they are not voting members, and that makes a difference when it comes to making motions and voting in meetings. And then I thought I'd summarize a little bit about what the session does, or read you a little bit about what the session does, and then about what a clerk of session is, because I know you all know from what Harry did for all those decades, and then what Vicki does as well, that the clerk of session has a lot of responsibilities, and so I just thought that I would help you understand a little bit better. So, from the Book of Order, G10501, about annual meetings. The congregation shall hold an annual meeting and may hold special meetings as necessary for any or all of the business appropriate for congregational consideration. The business to be transacted at special meetings shall be limited to items specifically listed in the call for the meeting. All active members of the congregation present at either annual or special meetings are entitled to vote. Congregation shall prove by rule the quorum necessary to conduct business. G10402. An active member is a person who has made a profession of faith in Christ, has been baptized, has been received into membership of the church, has voluntarily submitted to the government of this church, and participates in the church's work and worship. From G3.02, this is about the session. The session is the council for the congregation. It shall be comprised of those persons elected by the congregation to active service as ruling elders, together with all installed pastors and associate pastors. All members of the session are entitled to vote. The pastor shall be the moderator of the session, and the session shall not meet without the pastor or designated moderator. The session shall have responsibility for governing the congregation and guiding its witness to the sovereign activity of God in the world, so that the congregation is and becomes a community of faith, hope, love, and witness. The session has responsibility and power to provide that the word of God may be truly preached and heard, provide that the sacraments may be rightly administered and received, and nurture the covenant community of disciples of Christ. And from G30104 about the clerk of session, Each council shall elect a clerk who shall record the transactions of the council, keep its rolls of membership and attendance, maintain any required registers, preserve its records, and furnish extracts from them when required by another council of the church. And so all of that condenses down about 50 pages in our Constitution, maybe only 25, but it feels like 50 sometimes, to tell you that the session is mandated to do the work of organizing this congregation for these principles, for these great ends of the church. And our clerk of session is the person who helps keep us all on track and making sure that those records are kept and that the work is done. Fills out an immense amount of paperwork to make sure that happens. And then the active members, those of you who have joined as voting members, are also called voting members of our congregation. You are responsible for making sure all of this happens as well. So the annual meeting is an important time because it is the time that you recognize what's been done and we plan for the future. So what is going to happen now we are going to have a bunch of people share, and as we have motions that need to be moved on, as I noted in the bulletin, I will step in and make sure that we vote on those motions. So Vicki gets to talk first because she's the clerk.
Well, as Shia said, my job as clerk is to maintain the records, maintain the membership rolls. Last night I finished up a little online statistical report that I have to send to the General Assembly. And I guess in a way, being a clerk of session might be a little bit in my heritage, because my grandfather served as the clerk of session at the Ontario Church for 50 years. And when he died in the mid-50s, my mother took over until the church closed in the mid-80s. So now fortunately Presbyterians have term limits on this, so I'm not going to have to try to beat that record. But I'm glad to do this work, and I guess that's all I have to share.
All right. Thank you, Vicki. So under the clerk of session business, we need to approve the previous minutes from our two previous congregational meetings. One from our last annual meeting from February 10th of last year, and then our December 8th meeting. And those have been those are in the annual report on page 7. And so I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Our next thing is a bylaw change it really has to do with the session, but we have to include it in our bylaws, and it has to do with email voting. And so on page 27 and 28 of the bylaws, or of the annual report, which is the bylaw section, we included the passage that our stated clerk of the presbytery told us we needed to have in our bylaws. And if you have questions, Vicki can explain it a little bit more. But basically it just says that the session can communicate and vote by email when it's necessary. So is there a motion, well, that comes from the session, so we don't need a second, but is there discussion about this? All right, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for that. So the next thing we do is we do a policy review. So that starts on page 25. We do this every year. I just draw your attention to the policy so you can look them over. If you have any questions about any of them, I would be happy to have your question, or you can ask the committee that is in charge of this. So on page 25 are the building and property use guidelines. They haven't changed in a number of years. It just basically says what's happening and who's doing what, or like if you reserve the building. The next section are our bylaws, which you could read those as well. And then page 29 is our child protection policy, and this is the one that we always make sure I highlight. So you can read the definitions of what sexual misconduct, child sexual abuse, sexual activity, and child abuse are. We have those definitions listed for you. Our guidelines and policies as a congregation have not changed in a decade, though we do review this and we do update it as necessary. We do have an open door policy. If you've been in the basement, you know that our Sunday school rooms, they either have doors with windows or they don't have doors so that anybody can see in. In the nursery, when we have the nursery, we always make sure it's staffed by 2 people, at least 1 person over the age of 18. Whenever possible, we try to make sure that no children are alone in a restroom with an adult. When we transport our children, we make sure that we have written dated consent. And so, like for youth group, at the beginning of youth group, we'll send home a thing that says they have permission to travel for youth group, and it's just for that school year. And then also based upon our policy, you can't drive the church van unless you're 25 and a member of the congregation, so that's a second feature of our transportation policy. Also, we keep track of the transportation, and then overnight, which usually the only overnight we go on is to the Stronghold Confirmation Retreat, and they have their own policy, which is stricter than ours, and so we do observe that as well. Reporting is always taken seriously, and that tells you who to report to. In our congregation, you can report to me or to the Christian Ed chairperson, personnel committee, or a member of session, or you can call the presbytery office. And then we have a whole process that we go through about that. And then investigations are done immediately of an allegation, and then what happened if there are, and we follow the law, and that's what we do. So, and then our training, which we put this in here, is that we will make sure that we do this every year. So every year at the annual meeting, I go through it. We do it at DBS. And for those of us who do youth group, we all are the ones who do the training of this. So we do remind ourselves, okay, remember they get the report, but since we are the ones that do the training for the congregation, we don't always have a formal youth group training of the policy. So the next page 31, those are the garden guidelines. And then the page 32, those are pastor-parish relations committee guidelines. So those are our policies. Are there any questions about any of our policies? All right, seeing nobody's hand go up, we are going to sing now, and then after that you get to hear stories from other people, so you don't have to have me make you make motions or listen. So let us stand and sing the hymn insert, Come Holy Spirit, Heavenly Dove. seated. And so we organize ourselves into 4 different committees. We have Christian Ed, we have Stewardship and Outreach, Trustees, and Worship. So we're going to hear from those committees and a couple others. And so we'll begin with Christian Ed, which is Matt Losey.
Good morning. I'll start off with this lovely focus and purpose that Bill Griffin crafted for us a few years ago. So at the top, if you're on the Christian Ed page, it says, "It is the goal of the Christian Ed Committee to create, initiate, and supervise the most effective and well-attended programs possible. It is a goal that our programs bring a greater understanding of and reliance on God in the lives of our church family. It is our goal to meet the spiritual needs of as many age groups as possible." So, as many age groups as possible, hopefully we're doing that. Oftentimes when I think of Christian Ed, I think of children's Sunday school, but I realize it's a lot more than that. So, if you have participated in one of these activities when I call it out, just raise your hand. I won't make you stand up because that'd be a lot of work, since some of you will be standing up and down numerous times. So, if you have attended or helped with children's Sunday school, raise your hand. Okay. If you went to camp last year at Stronghold, raise your hand. Or have helped at camp at Stronghold. Okay. How about Vacation Bible School? Helped or attended? Excellent. Adult Sunday School. Okay. Adult Bible Studies? Okay, there's a few more. And youth group. Okay, so now if you raise your hand at any time during any of those, put it back up. Okay, so that's a lot of people, right? And hopefully in that you see that we are covering every age group, from Mason all the way up to whoever wants to claim to be the oldest here today. Anyone? Maxine said it might be her, I don't know. You don't have to tell us your age, Maxine. Happy birthday anyway. All right, so I've been the Christian Ed Chair Committee numerous times in the time we've been here, and I still am currently. Muriel Francis is going to be the chair next year. And so we have a number of committee members, including Muriel, Jim Strickland, Sherry Griffin, Mabel, who's been on the committee before, Lorene, Melanie Brandt, Bill Griffin, and Cheyenne as well. So all those people who have helped out with the committee itself and all those other activities, and I just thank you, and we couldn't do all this work without you. And today we have some people who are going to come up and talk about some of these different opportunities that we provided through the Christian Ed Committee. So I don't know who's first, ladies. Ruth is first. And Ruth, you're going to talk about
Confirmation.
confirmation. Okay. We did have, I didn't even say confirmation in my, I'm sorry. All right, raise your hand if you were in confirmation last year. Oh, excellent. All right. I'll turn this over to you.
Thank you. Confirmation is the process of joining the church. It's a lot of fun. During confirmation, we learn about God and the Bible. We also learned about the church, like the government and worship services and procedures. We got to practice pouring the juice for communion and breaking the bread. We got to go to a big meeting in Galesburg with Cheyenne. We also do lots of fun activities to get everyone involved. We got to meet with Ryan Landino and help him make a 60-second sermon. We went on a confirmation retreat at Stronghold in the winter. It was very fun and we met some new people. We also got the van stuck in the snow. We learned about the way the church government works and learned more about what it means to be a member of the church. Confirmation made us feel closer to God and more welcomed and ready to join the church. And thank you for all your time and support.
All right. Thank you, Ruth. Who's up next? All right, Cassie's going to talk about Stronghold, which she's been to a number of times, and is planning on going back this year, right? Okay.
I love Stronghold. Stronghold is a church summer camp with lots of fun activities. Some activities are swimming, hiking, archery, high ropes course, Bible study, canoeing, and making friends. At Stronghold, you make lots of friends and can reconnect with old ones. Stronghold has a lot of options of camps you can go to. Usually, like us girls that go, we go to a 5-day camp, but they offer like 10-day and day camps. And also some of the counselors can like travel to other churches and do some fun activities with them. On a regular camp day, we will eat, do energizers, Bible study, games, arts and crafts, swimming, free time, and sleeping. Last year, our church had a chance to go to family camp at Stronghold. The people that did go had a blast. It was awesome to see everyone relax and have fun with each other. Some members of our church work or have worked at Stronghold before too. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to be able to go to Stronghold. It's an amazing way to spend the summer, and thank you for the camp scholarships for all of us to go.
All right, thank you, Cassie. I know a number of people have gone to Stronghold over the years, and it's always a great experience. Mabel got the opportunity to work there last year, and she loved it, had a great time. I could make her come up and talk, but she probably doesn't want to, right? She's just staring at me, so I'm gonna take that as a no. All right, next we have Mia. And Mia's talking about
VBS.
VBS, excellent.
VBS, or Vacation Bible School, basically it happens in the summer, and it's the morning of one week, and all the kids get to come here and learn and kind of learn about God and have a bunch of fun. My favorite parts, basically for VBS, I'm sorry, really. VBS includes, in the morning we'll all come together and we'll meet our character for the day, which is normally an animal, and it teaches us different things such as patience or kindness or whatever the thing for the day is. And you'll sing songs and dance, and then after that, the groups go off and they do all the different projects. There's crafts, Bible story, there's fun snacks that go along with the day's singing, and then there's games. And last year, me and Sammy got to be the people in training, leader in training for the games. We had a lot of fun. Chuck helped us, and it's fun trying to think of games that go along with the daily singing and how you connect them. Some good things about VBS, it introduces some kids to Sunday school and ways to learn about God that are more fun, because sometimes they don't have the patience to sit through a church service. And we also, every year, we raise money for a different cause. And a lot of kids love doing it. Like last year, whenever we got to a certain goal for money, we got to add a tooth onto the tiger. So kids enjoy doing that at the end of the day. And it's just a really fun way to learn about God and get people connected. Another really fun thing about VBS is we do God sightings every day. So you sit in a circle with your snacks after Bible study and everything, and you ask the kids something good that happened because of God, and it helps kids be able to identify God in everyday life. And I hope for VBS we just get to keep doing it, and it also is really good for teenagers because we get to help teach them after going through it all the time. I hope we continue to do that and raise money and teach all the children.
All right, thank you, Mia. And Mia did mention that she and Sammy and Chuck took over the games this summer, which was a nice break for me because I've been doing that for a while. But I don't know if that means they're going to do that again next year, or if I have to come back and do it again.
You have a job. Do it.
I have a job, okay. I guess that means that I can come back next year, but now I have people who have been trained and can help me, right?
Definitely do it next year.
Thank you, Sammy, or thank you, Mia, okay. Sammy, were you going to come up and talk about anything?
No.
Oh, okay, excellent. Just thought I'd offer in case you wanted to say something. Okay, so that's about all I have. Oh, youth group, sorry, one more.
Youth group is for grades 7 through 12. We try and meet every other week. At youth group, we do lots of fun activities and volunteer work. Some things we have done are served a meal at the mission, went to a trampoline park, made blessing bags, had a cookout and a hayride, sold candy for Easter, had a pancake breakfast, still do, made crafts with Sherry Johnson, set up the clothing swap, made s'mores, did a chapel at the mission.
Youth group has brought a lot of new people into our church. It shows us kids how easy it is to help people, and we're very thankful for all the people who help donate supplies and time.
Thank you. Okay. Keith, do you want to talk too?
No, I just want to ask a question.
Okay, all right, so I think that's all I have now, unless anyone else is coming up to talk. So, Keith has a question, hopefully it's not difficult.
No,
Okay.
I mean, you meet every other weekend. How many kids do you have involved in the church, in the youth group?
It depends on the week, but, I think we've had 11 this year different. 11.
11?
Or other churches
Yeah,
involved?
so, raise your hand if you've come to youth group this year. So, kids, I don't know if I call you all kids, but Alex is getting kind of old back there, but Alex, Aaron, Haley, the 4 girls here, that's 7. But they've also brought some friends a number of times, so we've had some other people who are not actively involved in our church that have come and started to be involved in that, which is great too. So we're kind of reaching out to some of those kids. But it is now just our congregation. In the past, we had partnered with the Presbyterian and Lutheran churches in New Windsor. Due to some changes, we've stopped doing that, but we have a pretty active amount of kids here, so we think that we have a viable group, and we often have a lot of adult helpers too at our meetings, which has been really nice and really helpful.
I think that's great.
Thank you. We do too. That was an easy question. Any harder ones? Pat?
Vacation Bible School, kind of a count on how many attend?
Ooh, not sure.
I think this year, maybe we had 50. Does anybody remember? I think we had about 50. And I don't know if included in that were our teenagers. I mean, we usually have about.
Like, a lot of our crew members last year were also teenagers.
Yeah.
I think there were, because people were saying how many people were there last year, and I think there were about like 10 workers, and then like 50 kids.
Is that Lutheran? It's with the Lutheran.
Yes, and the VBS, we do partner with the Lutheran Church, so we get kids from both churches and then kids from the community as well, so. Other questions, Brandon?
For the Stronghold camp, is that just for our kids only, or can they be from the community? And not that I'd want to get rid of my kid for a week, but what's the minimum age they can go?
Mabel, how old do you have to be to go to day camp?
Day camp is kindergarten through like 3rd grade,
Okay, and then mini camp?
2nd through 5th.
He's getting close. He's getting close, yeah.
Everything else is.
So, we have had a lot of kids from our church go. Haley's had a friend that has gone to camp as well that is not from our church, but also went. So it is open to anyone that wants to go. And we do provide scholarships for people from our congregation. So if that's something, if someone that's interested, please let me know and we can see if we can make that happen. All right. Keith, you have one more?
I would just like to say, as I visit with other people in other churches, when we talk about the number of young people that they have in their churches, and when you go to a lot of Presbyterian churches, all you see is old people with hair like mine. And I think it's really, really, really great that we're ministering to the young people of our congregation, whether it's the kids as young as Mason or the kids as old as Alex, or anything in between. I think that that's something that we as a congregation have should celebrate, that we are involving young people in our church congregation, which is not happening in a lot of congregations.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Barb?
I sometimes
to pick up my great-grandchildren from Bible school, and I've never seen such enthusiasm that the group gives. And it flows over to the oldsters like me.
Well, thanks to people like Sally and Patty Colburn who have been running VBS for a long time. It is a great week, and they do have a good time and learn a lot, and just oftentimes they don't want to go home at the end of the week. They want a whole second week of VBS. And Sally, I'm not sure we could survive that, right? Sherry?
And Cheyenne is a very big behind-the-scenes part of that.
Definitely is.
Laying out a lot of stuff that we didn't realize, you know. She had a big book for us to follow. She helps out a lot behind the scenes.
All right, any other questions? I think I've been up here a long time. All right.
Great job.
Thank you.
Before we move on to nominating committee, I would just like to add one thing about family camp. We did have, what was it, like 20 some of us, 19 or 20 of us? Mabel's giving me a thumbs up. From our congregation that went to family camp last summer, and it was so much fun. And I really enjoyed it. And so if you are thinking that you want, and family camp is open to infant to as old as you want to go. So it's a weekend, starts in was it start Friday night, goes through Sunday afternoon, and they set a schedule and you can follow the schedule, and then there's lots of free time and you get a lot of free choice of what activities you want to do. And we took, because Mabel and Mandy were working there, it was sort of a family reunion in some cases for some of us, because grandparents came to see because they wanted to come and be there. So I highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun. Plus, it was really awesome that we were the biggest group. And I will say this because I do believe it to be true. We were the most enthusiastic and the most participatory group. We did everything, and we did it with enthusiasm. We did. Because Mandy and Mabel were just like, they were super proud of us that they got to show us off as their people, and so that was kind of why I did it, because I didn't want them to say that we were the worst group since they were.
Didn't Sally do high ropes?
Sally did high ropes, she did. I have pictures. So anyway, I would strongly encourage you, because it is a low impact weekend and you could stay in the hotel type rooms where you have your private bathroom, and it makes for a really great time just to get together with your extended family if you are looking for an opportunity. Plus it supports a camp that we all love. So that is the end of the Christian Ed report. So nominating committee. We get to elect 3 members from the congregation to serve on the nominating committee this year. So Matt and Cassie are the members from session that are serving on the nominating committee. So I need 3 volunteers who would like to be on the nominating committee this year. And you can't currently be on session, so all of you guys on the session get a break. Yeah.
Can Ruth do it?
Ruth can, because she is a member of the church.
I will volunteer.
Okay. Brandon, he volunteered, and I need 1 more volunteer. Keith? All right.
I'll represent the old people.
Hold on, Keith's gonna be on there trying.
All right, does anybody want to challenge Ruth, Brandon, or Keith for their spot? All right, I don't see any of you raising your hand, so if I could have a motion to close the floor and elect Ruth, Brandon, and Keith to serve on the nominating committee. Is there a second? Yes. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. Anyone opposed? All right, thank you 3 for doing that. So now we get to go to Presbyterian Women. And Sherry Taylor is filling in for Pam Picard, who is in the south enjoying the sunshine. So come on up, Sherry. You do, so that people can hear you.
Presbyterian Women, if you don't know, meet monthly here in the church. Okay. And some of the things that we have done in the past, recently, in about the last year. We have directed funds from our accounts, $500 to the 50th celebration luncheon. We have donated $300 to the cost of the fellowship hall chairs. Scholarship fund donation was $1,000. We have helped out often with kitchen upkeep. Recently, I think 2 new coffee pots. And we've also made a carpet donation at a certain time. We provide funeral luncheons. Usually that's with a donation made. We don't require any kind of a payment on that, but almost always we receive a donation. We give out floral gifts to the members and friends of the church beginning on their 90th birthday. All shut-ins and those who are ill receive poinsettias at Christmas time. And also at Christmas, we have a guest luncheon for Christmas for PW members and their guests. And we had the Alwood Jazz Band come the last 2 years, and we make a $50 donation to the Alwood Music Department. We donate all the treats to the children at Christmas program. We serve the Woodhull Co-op breakfast meeting, which we did about a month ago. Upcoming is the telephone soup supper, which we do every year. That's an annual event. And we do plan to serve the Palace Lunch coming up. Other things we do include the fundraiser. We sell dishcloths and cutware. And if you're interested in that, you can see Pat Tursty. Our quilting project, hundreds, I've even heard it's gotten into the thousands that have been made and donated to those who are ill, hospitalized, in nursing homes, and sometimes they've even been sent out of state. Friends and members formerly here that work in nursing homes or hospitals have asked to take some. And so the women of the church work on that project usually weekly. They're in a little glitch right now with Betty Taylor being ill, and she was always the leader of that group. And there are other community members that aren't members of our church who come in and help with that and enjoy doing it. And I must make the note that the women of our church have been wonderful to help on any of these projects, whether they're able to come to the meetings at all, they're willing to donate. Some of our women who work and can't come in to help, they'll come in the morning before they go to work with a pie for us, or a salad, or some help that way. And even if they aren't able to attend our PW meetings, they give us a lot of support. So Pam Picard is actually our chairman of our group right now, but as she said, she's in Florida in the sunshine. So, are there any questions about anything?
Are there any questions for Sherry about what PW does?
Thank you for everything that you do.
Yes, thank you.
We do have a little light coffee for our meetings, and we have a Bible study. So we do that at our meetings each month too, so thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. As many of you know, without PW work, there would be a whole lot that doesn't get done. And Sherry didn't mention, oh wait, you did, I'm sorry, I just really skipped over it about the funeral luncheons that you guys do, because you do them for everybody that calls us and says they have a need. So that is Presbyterian Women. So now we are up to stewardship and outreach. And Sally or Sherry, I'm not sure which one of you.
I was the chairperson for the Stewardship Outreach Committee for 2019. And I'm going to read the focus for our committee that's in the report. The committee is charged with teaching and leading members in the use of their gifts, as well as the care of our members. We try to give you many ways to use your time, talent, and treasures to serve or to share God's love and grace. And so I want to thank all of you for sharing your time, talent, and treasure this past year. And if you look in our report, we have a whole page of things that show the ways that you shared these gifts with others. So we had a really busy year this year. Also, if you look on your tables, there are bookmarks that Cheyenne made that list the ways that we used your financial gifts in 2019. And Sherry is going to be the chairperson for 2020. Our committee meets monthly. We meet on the second Thursday of every month. at 6 o'clock before choir, when choir is meeting on Thursdays. And we have a really good time on our committee. If you're looking for a committee to join, just let me, put in a little plug for our committee. We have a lot of interesting conversations at our committee meetings as we try to figure out where God is calling us. So if you think this work sounds like something that you would like to be a part of, get a hold of one of us and we will plug you into something. And I want to thank the members of the committee. They are also listed on the report for all of their help and work this past year. And so I think Sherry is going to tell us a little something about something that you supported this past year.
As you can see, you helped to support the Lions Club Coat Project. And me being a Lion, I was on the other end of this, and I got to see, some of the thank yous from people. And I did want to mention that one parent wrote us a real nice thank you and said that it was the first time, and she had some older children, first time they've ever had brand new coats. They've always had hand-me-downs, and the kids were so appreciative. So I just want to say thank you for your support with all our projects.
Brandon, as the health minister, I'm sorry, Keith, go ahead.
I'd just like to make a comment that one of the things we struggled with on the Stewardship Outreach Committee is programs that we maybe don't know about that need to be done. If you come up with an idea of some way in which this congregation could better serve the community or the congregation, whatever that happens to be. And one of the things that I got scared about was when Carol was in Bounce Back, and I came home to a house by myself, and there wasn't anybody to call. I could have fallen down the stairs and nobody would have known it. Ages. But we have not, and we've talked about maybe having some kind of a phone tree that people would contact with each other. I know there's lots of people who do that informally, but maybe we need to have some kind of formal arrangement somehow. I don't know, and it's not anything that we felt was important enough that we had to get busy and do it yet, but there may be some other kinds of opportunities for us as a church community to better serve this community and the world.
Right, absolutely right, Keith. So if you do have ideas and you don't feel like you can be on the committee, we are always taking ideas. Most of what we do came out of an idea that somebody said, hey, this might be something really great to do. And we have been talking about this project and how to do it, how to connect our members who live alone. And so part of what Stewardship and Outreach does is they do have oversight of a couple of our programs, and one of them is the health minister, because we do member care. So Brandon is our health minister, so he gets to talk too. And again, I just remind you, just like Keith did, if you have ideas, please tell us so that we can do them. So come on up, Brandon.
You should mention that. I might talk about the same thing. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'm just going to read the focus real quick. Providing holistic support for our congregation and community, and to be a resource to help meet the health and spiritual needs of the community. 2019 has been a pretty busy year. Finally getting my schedule kind of the way I want to now, so I can actually do a little bit more. Some of the plans I have for 2020, I want to continue to provide the weekly office hours. We got to get the sewing circle going again, ladies. I missed this. So whoever has to step up and take charge of the sewing circle, I show up at 12:30 to get harassed by all the ladies here, and I missed that. So whoever has to step up and do that, they got to do that. But I will be available here most Wednesdays from 12:30 to 1:30. My information is in the bulletin. Feel free to drop me an email, drop me a phone call if you have questions. As more and more of our congregation and our community is reaching 65 and older and starting to go towards Medicare and things like that, we have a lot of resources to help you answer a lot of questions. One of the programs I want to work on this year is Seniors Helping Seniors, and this kind of goes to what Keith was saying. being able to look out for each other when you know somebody is having difficulty at home, they're by themselves. We do want to put together a phone tree. Have somebody give a call and check in and see what they're doing, not only with our congregation, but with the community as well. Some of the other things we also want to work on this year is working more with the youth program. After talking to some youths and other adults in the area, there's two things I'd like to focus on this year. And one is an anti-bullying campaign that I'm going to be working with at the high school and the elementary school. And the other one is an anti-vaping campaign. That has gotten out of control. The middle schools, high schools, even in some elementary schools. So I'll be reaching out to the health instructor, health teachers at the different schools and see what kind of program we can put together to kind of get that under control. And I think it was Orion High School actually has alarms in their bathrooms now to stop vaping. I mean, it's just really not doing well, so it's one of the things we want to work on. Continue the monthly newsletter contributions. And I'm going to be sending out a new questionnaire. I know you guys have gotten these over the years. There's going to be 3 different questionnaires, one for seniors, one for adults, and one for youth. So if you'll take the time to fill that out, see what kind of programs or resources I can make available to you. Other than that, any questions, comments, complaints? Very good, thank you.
I want to thank you. Donna wears a thing around her neck, and occasionally it gets pushed when you don't mean to.
Right.
And it's always Brandon that's on the phone, so he puts time in on this. We appreciate that.
We try.
I just wanted to speak briefly about the Garden of Hope. This was our 6th growing season since the garden was constructed in 2014 by Eagle Scout Chris Bloomberg. And you can read in the annual report some of the highlights of the things that we did last year. I want to thank everyone that helped in the garden, and I know there's probably some people that I don't even know that helped, because I know people stop by during the week when they have time and pull weeds or harvest vegetables or share vegetables with others. And this past year there were a couple of things that kind of stood out to me. The first is that we lost one of our most dedicated garden workers, and that was Pastor Nancy, because she moved. And she did so much work in the garden. I think if you drove by any time in the summer, you would see her or see her pulling her wagon down the street. So she's going to be greatly missed. So I'm praying for some other people who, you know, might be able to do as much work as she did in the garden to kind of fill her shoes. Another thing that stood out to me this past year is every year I am amazed at how God uses this garden to bring people together. When I'm up here working in the garden, and if I meet someone in the garden, I don't typically talk about the church or, you know, anything like that. We talk about vegetables, right? And because that's what we're there for, and I'm always glad to do that. And we had our second Sunday gatherings this past summer. We had one in June and one in July and one in August. And that provided opportunities for us to meet some new people who stopped by to see the garden. And thank you to any of you who came up and supported that. Because I think it was great having people from our church there, and that made people feel comfortable to stop. We had some young families that stopped that we got to meet and visit with. And so we hope to continue those this summer if that works out. And through that second Sunday gathering, when we met the young family, there was opportunity as we were talking to them, where they were asking about our church, and someone in our group invited them to bring their kids to Bible school, and they did. So that was a wonderful thing that happened that I wanted to share. And besides these planned gatherings, I meet people on a weekly basis when I'm up here working in the garden. And I have to remind myself when I come up here, because I am a gardener and my mind is focused on things I'm going to get done, that I have to keep my eyes open for people who stop by. And most times when I'm up here, I probably talk to 5 to 6 people every time that I'm up here who stop by for one reason or another. And one of those people this past summer that I met was Shirley. And I was so glad that I was there that day and met her, and she did ask about our church, and so I was able to share what I knew and what I could share with her about things going on in the community. And so I was grateful that our paths crossed that day. So I want to encourage all of you, if you have any time to come up here in the spring and summer, to come up and just spend some time and keep your eyes open for who's going to stop by, who God might put in your path that day. And I just want to thank everybody for your continuing support of this work, because we couldn't do it without all of you, whether it's just helping with the actual work in the garden or, you know, spreading the word. That's still so important, to spread the word to people that this is a community garden. It's not just for our church, it's for anyone. So, does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for the Stewardship and Outreach Committee? Thank you, all of you, for all of your continued work with that, and for all the great stories that we get to share about it. Next up are the trustees, and Jerry, as you know, is gone for Tristan's graduation, so Eric kindly said that he would come on up here and share a little bit and then answer any questions you might have. Jerry said he's sorry to miss you. It was not in his original plan, but, you know, can't miss a grandson's graduation. You're welcome. Thank you, Eric.
Well, part of the duties of the trustees are to maintain the property owned by the church, the building's interior, exterior landscape, and also the church band. We do routine maintenance, schedule cleanup days, a couple times a year to trim the bushes and rake the leaves. Then we have snow removal and many other surprise duties throughout the year. We depend on members of the church to let us know if there are repairs or safety issues that need our attention, and we want the church to be a safe and welcoming place for everyone that comes through the doors. And I just think it's a blessing to have a nice building like this for us to worship Jesus in. And Jerry does a great job, and Larry, Youngren, and Evan, they do an excellent job selling. And I just think it's very good that we have such a nice place. Does anybody have questions?
Any questions for the trustees? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, it is now time for the worship committee, and that it will be Teresa.
Okay. When asked to share a story on how God has worked through the worship committee in 2019, I did some thinking. We do quite a bit, from changing the altar cloth throughout the year to the correct color to decorating the Advent tree. I love decorating the tree every year, and a group of church members encompassing all age groups working together to create a gift for all to look upon during each service. It's a good feeling to know that so many people have been a part of this tradition. But the one thing that stands out for me, showing God's touch, is communion. The art of partaking in communion is an honor for me each and every time that I eat that bread and drink that juice. Most people, and myself included, take for granted that the table will be prepared and ready for the sacrament. Yet there is a bit of work involved behind that wonderful gift to our congregation. There's bread to be cut into cubes. Some of you even bake the bread yourselves. And the juice to be poured into those tiny little cups. Now, if you've ever done this, you understand it's not easy to get those cups filled, and you get some that are way too full, and people are trying to pull them out, so you got to cut us a little bit of slack. But
And of course, making sure that the linen cloths are placed perfectly over the items on the table. Now, I'm a nitpicker, so I'll, like, are the corners right, are they too wrinkled? So, and I did just purchase new linen cloths, so we have new cloths for that, so it'll look even nicer. But we all take pride in how the table looks when everything is placed and ready for the service. And in watching all of these simple but needed acts, I see the God working through all of us, and being a member of this committee is an honor. So I don't have the list with me on who's on this committee, but who's on worship committee? Raise your hand. And thank you for all of you that do the work. Every time we have a meeting and we ask for someone to volunteer for something, there's always a volunteer for the work we do. In my report, I wrote, and I did mine in the form of a letter. That's why it looks a little different than everybody else's. So it states on what we do and what we try to accomplish throughout the year. Do you have any questions?
Vicki, did you still want to share about the choir? That falls under worship. That's the musicians, the choir, everything that has to do with that falls under the worship committee's responsibilities. And so Vicki handles a good portion of the music part of our life.
I enjoy talking for the choir. I think our choir is a very, very special group. We range in age from about 14 to over 80. And 84 to be exact. And there's no generation gaps in that choir. It's a pretty special group. A few years, it's always been our practice in all the years I've been in choir that once you're in 7th grade, then you may have the honor of being part of the choir. But a few years ago, 4 young ladies wanted to know if they could join when they were in what, 5th grade maybe?
Yes.
In 5th grade. Well, we said, sure, why not, you know? And what a wonderful decision that was, because those girls have learned from us. The altos, they lean real heavy on Rhonda, and then now, you know, you heard at the Christmas program last year, they sang alto all on their own. They did it, and that's how they learned. Our sopranos kind of lean on Maxine, especially when there's a high note. They'll kind of lean in and they'll hit it. And one special night at choir, Maxine was not there on time. I believe she went to a visitation, so we're not chastising her. But we were practicing and there was a song with a high note, and the girls were all nervous, and Maxine came through the door, and those girls stood up and cheered as she came down the aisle. And to me, that's a pretty special group. It's a pretty special group. We've lost some accompanists and dear choir members through the years, and we miss them greatly, but we're always looking forward to new people, so don't be shy. If you want to become a part of the group, we'll welcome you with open arms. We try to be adaptable. I think we've been pretty adaptable, so anyway, I'm proud to be part of that group.
Are there any questions for the worship committee? All right. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to accept our 2019 annual report, all the committee reports in it.
So moved.
I see a movement and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed? Motion carries. And so now we're at the time where we offer our gifts. And so I thought this was a really great time for us to talk about those financial gifts that we give throughout the year. So before we get to the offertory, when Mary will play and we will all give our offering, Sally is going to come up and share a little bit about our financial highlights from 2019. And if you have questions about the budget, that is on the fold-out page for 2020. Or the 2020 budget's on the fold-out page. So go right ahead, Sally.
Okay, you get to hear from me again.
Yeah, I'll hand them to you after Sally's done talking. I've got them up here waiting for you.
So 2019 was a great year financially, I would say, but I always look on the good side of everything. Just a few quick highlights. Our giving was almost $200 higher than 2018, so every year we continue to give a little more. So thank you for that. And our overall income for 2019 was $1,000 higher as compared to 2018, which included a $500 sabbatical grant that we had gotten from Presbytery. Our expenses were higher than they were the year before, but that was not unexpected because we knew with the hiring of Sheila, Sheila Shear, that we would have added expenses. But to kind of balance that out, our building maintenance total was a little bit lower this year. We made more on our investments this year due to higher interest rates, so that was good. This year we used $7,125 in principal for the year, but that was less than the year before. So that was a surprise because I thought with our added expenses that we would use more principal, and we didn't. So that was a good thing. I was able to pay all of our bills before the end of the year. We paid all of our per capita and all of our mission obligations, and our beginning balance for our checking account in the general fund was over $5,000. So I think that we all did a good job this year, and thanks be to God for another good year. So if anybody has any questions about any of the reports, I will try to answer them.
All right, seeing no questions, just a reminder, just because I told you that I get to use this time to teach you too about the way we do things. The budget is approved by the session, and it was approved at our November meeting, and so this was for your review. So if you do have any questions, we do, please find one of us and ask us. We'll do our best to answer them anytime you have them. So at this time, it is now time for us to give back to God from all of these gifts that He has given us with cheerful and open hearts. Let us pray using the prayer printed in the bulletin. God of us all, we dedicate to you this morning our gifts, lives, and tithes, because we believe Jesus is Lord. Use what we offer so that we can continue to gather to worship and educate. Fill us with your Spirit, so we will proclaim and witness to our belief in your love and grace. Amen. Now, before I entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting with our final hymn, I do want to have a couple of announcements. We will be having our soup luncheon. So the soup and hot dogs you can get at the kitchen counter. The desserts and the salads will be over here under the Christian Ed Community News Bulletin Board, Christian Ed Committee News Bulletin Board. And of course, we have coffee and tea and water, and so we encourage all of you to stay around for lunch if you are able. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting with the singing of the final hymn. I heard two things, so that's a motion and a second. And if you would like to, then if you are all in favor of that, let us sing hymn number 300, We Are One in the Spirit. Make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance and give you his peace, today and always. Amen.